Okay. We're going to talk about the land right quick. And it's in chapter number 8. Can you guys see my screen?
No.
No.
Oh, you can. Okay. Let me see if I can share that right quick. Let's see here. You can see it now though, huh?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so this is coming on. Put that on there. There you go. Get rid of my little ugly face and put it here. All right, so listen. You've already read this, but let's just go over it, okay? What we need to understand, everyone, is that this land is the most beautiful land of all lands. And in our studies, what you're going to find is Moshe's always saying the same thing over and over and over again about a few things. He tells us like, hey, Yah brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. Then he mentions about the wilderness. You know, hey, you were in the wilderness for 40 years. So he's kind of giving them some information about this, but he also keeps talking about the inheritance that he's promised. We don't want to forget that Yah has sworn something to our ancestors. Yah is operating out of this right here. Yah had severed himself. He swore by his name to our ancestors, okay? He says, all the mitzvot, all the commands I'm giving you today, you are to take care to, and that means shamar, to guard it, to obey them, that you will live, okay? That's the primary reason why we want to keep the laws and the statutes and the commandments. That's number one. Number one, you want to live. Number two is he talks about increasing your numbers, okay? And then, of course, you would enter and take possession of the land that Yahweh swore to your ancestors, okay? Yah is telling us this because he's trying to, we're going through a process of preparation, okay? And he's letting us know straight off the top that if you and I don't follow what he says, you're not going to live. And I can't say it any clearer than that. You're not going to live. That's what it is. Our increase of our numbers are going to happen when you and I get back into an environment that allows us to expand our numbers, which we, talk about in the Haftarah, talking about, hey, you're going back to the land. When you get there, there won't be enough room. So you're going to ask Yah to bless you and you're going to increase your numbers like sheep and so forth and so on. Okay. So this is the goal. This is what the commandments do for us. Okay. It allows you to live and it increases your numbers. Okay. You say, well, I'm living now. We've had a couple of kids, but this is a whole different thing. All right. He says that you are to remember, okay, everything of the way, the direct of Yahweh that he led you 40 years. Why is he telling us to remember this? Why is he focused about, because this is the one day. Remember, he's talking to them one day. This is all he's saying, the same thing, this one day that he's saying before they go into the crossover the Jordan River. So he's telling them, I need you to remember all the 40 years that we're in the desert.
So we wouldn't make the same mistakes?
Yes. So yes, because Yah is concerned in letting us know, I want you to know about everything that they did over the 40-year period in the desert. I want you to understand that I was humbling and testing you in order to know what was in your heart, which is in your mind. Okay. Saying, and whether you would obey his mitzvot or not. This word or right here is not true. It's if. Okay. The bottom line of Yah sending the children of Israel through the wilderness was for them to find out whether or not they would keep his commandments. It wasn't that he didn't know. It was that he wanted them to know. And the way that he lets us know, because you want to know, the way that he wants us to know is in our mind. Okay, so he does something to the mind in order so it will provoke us to think, well, why is this happening to me? The key to this is this word humble or humbling, okay? And this other word testing. Testing here is an examination, okay? So Yah does things to us. He examines us, okay? And he's causing us to be humbled, and humbled here means to be afflicted, okay? He's going to afflict you, okay? So what Yah is doing is he'll afflict the mind. As you said, Akoti, Italian, you said he's mentioning this so we won't make the same mistakes that we've made in the past. So Yah has allowed us to be afflicted as a people, okay, in order to bring something to your attention, because that's where everything happens, in your mind. I want you to pay attention to what I say. And the only way that I can get your attention is by afflicting you. That's the only way I could do it. It says in the book of Psalms, we're not going to go there, but it talks about hard labor. Yah uses hard labor to afflict, to get people to change and to turn from their ways. That's the only way this works for Israel. And the reason why this is happening to us is simply because there's something wrong with us. There's what they call a mum, which is called a defect. And the defect may not be in our bodies, okay? In a sense, like, physically only, but the defect is in our soul, which is the whole of our person, which is the mind, body, and the soul. There's something about us that continually wants to reject what Yah says. He calls us a stiff-necked people. He says you have a saref, or let me see, what's the word for frame? Quashe. He says you have a quashe. You have a quashe oref. Okay. You have a quashe oref, meaning you have a stiff neck. Your neck is stiff. Okay. And I asked him, like, y'all, what, in my studies, what's the problem with a stiff neck? If they had a stiff neck, wouldn't that mean they couldn't turn their head to the right and they couldn't turn to the left? Isn't that what you said, that we should have, like a stiff, like, don't turn to the left and don't turn to the right? He said, listen, the stiff neck is causing you a problem. It needs to be broken. Okay. It needs to be softened up. It needs to be made humble. Okay. And the only way I can do that is by, I got to put a yoke on your neck. And it can't be a light yoke. It has to be very, very heavy. I got to put you under heavy pressure in order for you to change. This is the problem. This is what Yah has used. And we don't need to be angry about this. What we need to understand is that his love for us means that I'm going to put something very heavy on you in order to break you. I'm going to break you, and I'm going to break your pride. And we'll talk more about that on Shabbat. I'm going to break your pride that's in you because you have such a stiff neck. Your name itself, the name Yisrael, means that he turns to El, or El turns him. Yah is trying to turn our heads towards him and looking towards his light and in the direction he wants us to go. And the only way that that can fully happen is if Yah has to humble us, and he has to put us under close examination in order for you and I to understand, so we can start thinking, because that's what the mind is for. It's for thinking. That's the only thing that you and I really have that can govern us and make us, take the time to just think about things and say, well, what's happened to you? See, you got to think about it. That's where everything happens. Everything happens in the mind. That's where it happens. It don't happen anywhere else. If you're going to go commit adultery, it starts right here first. If you're going to think about stealing something, it happens right here. You understand? If you're thinking about coveting something that doesn't belong to you, it starts right here. If you have to remember something, it starts right here. If you have a mind for a business and you want to create something, it starts right there in your mind. It's all in your mind. If you're being positive, it's in your mind. If you're negative, it's in your mind. Your brain, your mind, is the most powerful tool that Yah has given to you. He's given this to us in order for us to be able to make good decisions. So our problem is this. Your soul is part of your mind. Like I told you, it's everything you are, your emotions, it's your desires. It all starts in your mind. This is where it's at. Okay. So when Yah made us a living soul, he gave us the ability to be able to make decisions. And so you and I are going to have to make those decisions. And often, I think Kavika is into mental health. So other people that are in mental health, they understand these things. They understand what the situation is. Well, I got people, my family got mental health issues, people who definitely need some serious counseling. Yes, absolutely. We all have issues, but it starts in the mind. Okay. So when Yah's trying to do for us is he's trying to get us to be humbled. He has to bring this affliction upon us. And so he allowed them to become hungry, because when he got hungry, they start what? What's your stomach connected to? Your stomach is connected directly to your brain. There's signals from your stomach that goes to your brain that tells you that I'm hungry. You see, and we don't. Yeah, we don't want to.
Brains.
Yeah, we don't want to accept this because it's not religious enough for us. You see what I'm saying? We don't want to think of terms of, this being like real physical. Think about everything I'm going to tell you. This wasn't spiritual. It has spiritual implication, but the hunger caused you to think. And they thought about what? Well, we understand what they thought about. Do you remember what they said when they got hungry? What's the first thing that they said? What did they say? You guys know what they said. What did they say?
Brought us out here to die.
Huh? What'd you say?
He accused God of bringing them out there to die.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you. You brought us out here to die. You want to kill us. What else did they say? And talking about they're hungry. When they got hungry, what did they start complaining about?
The garlic.
Yeah, exactly. So they said, hey, we wanted, why did this thing flip? We wanted, where's all the garlic? Where's all the leeks? Where's the onions? Where's this? Where's the cucumbers? Where's all that? And we wish that we were where? We're back in Mitzrayim, back in your slavery. See, as long as you're being fed and you have something that your food and your delicacies and everything you eat while you're in exile, okay, is having to do with your slavery, which creates a mindset. This is why Yahweh has taken and said, don't eat that filth. I told you got to be set apart. I'm setting you apart from these things. So Yahweh uses the stomach, okay, as an indicator. That's to flip the switch. If y'all wants to find out who you really are, he'll use your stomach to find out. Did he not tell them, if I'm going to starve you and I'll make you eat your own kids?
Yeah, sure did.
Okay, so we don't like to hear that, but he said, I'll do that to you. Did he not tell you that I'll make you eat your own baby and your embryo, and I'll make you eat your afterbirth, and I'll make you eat your own children? You see, you guys be fighting over that. So Yah uses the stomach to get our attention. Okay. But he's also letting us know that, hey, look, he said, I fed you while you're with man, which is called manna. Okay. And which neither you nor your ancestors have ever known, to make you understand. I want you to understand something. Okay. That a person, a human being, okay, man or woman or child, does not live on food alone. Not on that, but on everything that comes from the mouth of Yah. When we were taught as Christians, like, oh, well, everything that comes out, every word, it said every word that comes out of his mouth, right? That's what they said, okay? But it's not talking about every word. It's talking about every command that Yah gives. How do we know? What does Yah give to all creation? Who's Yah responsible for feeding? Who does Yah feed on a regular basis?
All the animals.
All animal life. Okay. Guess what? Does plants eat? Do they need nutrition?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So plants and animals. Okay. This is physical. This is not spiritual. We're not going to go to the spiritual realm. We're going to stay right here in the physical. Animals, plants, and humans. Okay. And insects. Okay. And fish. And everything, birds, everything. You understand? Bacteria, the Yah is responsible for feeding. They got to eat too. You understand? So let me ask you something, and you just be honest. Where does the dragonfly live? And what do they eat?
They eat mosquitoes.
Around the pond or lake. I'm sorry. Yeah, pond.
Okay, they stay around a pond, but do we actually know their location, where where they all, hover at with their kid, their family structure. We don't know that. We don't know by detail do you and I go out and feed them?
No.
Okay. If Yah gave you the task to go feed a grasshopper, right? Or they feed all grasshoppers, what would you do? You would go get something he made, right? And try to put out some stuff, right? I'm making a joke. I'm just trying to bring out a point here. That you and I, we do a lot of complaining about stuff, but you and I are not in charge of really anything except for our souls. You understand? That's what you and I are in charge of. Okay. And so we've lost track and we lost focus. But Yah says, look, I'm going to bring this to your attention to let you know that everything that comes in my mouth, okay, everything, whether there's a rainy day or a hot day, is because of what came out of my mouth, a command. Also, too, I put up something that talked about back in Exodus chapter number 16. Okay, you can match Davarim 8 with 16 of Exodus, Shemot, which tells you something. It says, and I'll start in verse number 2. There in the desert, the whole community of people of Israel grumbled against Moshe and Aharon. Why? The people of Israel said to them, we wish that Yahweh had used his own hand to kill us off in Egypt. There, see, like you said, I forgot who said, I think it was you, Ted. They wanted Yah to kill them because they didn't want to have to do what Yahweh says. Okay. He says, there we used to sit around the pots with meat boiling, Genie, and we had as much food as we wanted. But you have taken us out into the desert, this desert, to let this whole community starve to death. That's what they said. Yahweh said to Moshe, here, I will cause bread to rain down from the Shamayim for you. You and I know in the book of Psalms, chapter number 78, you can look at it for yourself. It talks about the bread that Yahweh gave us was the bread that the Malachim ate. It's a divine bread that no one understood and no one knew. Why didn't Yah have to feed our ancestors, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, of this bread? Why didn't he have to feed? He said, they don't know anything about this, because he wasn't trying to teach them the lessons that he's teaching us, because there's something fundamentally wrong with us. Okay. And we're not like our ancestors in that sense. Okay. We need to be more like Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, but we're not. We weren't being like that. And I say we, the community, the whole entire house of Israel. He says, I'm going to cause bread to rain down for you. The people are to go out and gather a day's ration every day. And by this, I will test whether they will observe my Torah or not. Okay. Interesting. So what can we surmise from this? What can we understand about this? Why would Yah say, I'm going to use bread from heaven to fall down? Okay. And we know from my teachings that we went over that it didn't fall on the ground. It fell on a bed of frost, a dew that he sat on the ground first, and then it fell on that. So it never touched the ground. Okay. And then it would melt by the time the sun would, gets too hot in the midday. So you had to go out there and get it. Can somebody tell me in your own words, it's not a right or wrong answer, why do you think Yah says, I'm going to test them by throwing this bread out there?
To see if people would follow his instructions and who would basically take more than a day's ration of it.
Yes. He wanted to know whether or not they would follow the instructions. So he used manna to see and to test, to find out whether or not, okay, so again, to go back to the point, Yah uses the stomach to find out if someone's going to do what he says or they're not going to do what he says, okay? Book of Genesis, chapter number 3. What happened there in the garden? What happened? What did Yah tell them not to do for Adam and Eve in the garden?
Not to eat of the tree of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil.
So did he use their stomach to find out?
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
Do you guys remember when Yah used, I think, Jeremiah and told him to go get that one family? I forgot the name of the family, but bring them in here and have pour some wine out for them and see if they would drink it. Yah uses your stomach.
Mhm.
He uses your stomach to find out who you are. Okay. So he sits this out. He wants to know whether or not we're going to follow instructions. As simple as that may appear to be, that's pretty scary to think that they wouldn't go out and do what he says. If you read in Exodus, they did not go out at the times that he told them to do, and they did not take what he said, and they did not follow the instructions of whether or not to get, to take enough for that day and then take enough on the 6th day and don't have any left over. They didn't follow those instructions. Okay. So what we understand about our Elohim is testing us. Therefore, he'll give us instructions to see whether or not you and I are going to do it. I told you last time we were talking that Yah has decided I'm going to do exactly the same thing I did with their ancestors. I'm going to do to them. Okay. I'm going to put them in slavery. But this time, I asked them last time to get rid of their gods while they're in Mitzrayim. And this time I'm asking them to get rid of their gods while they're scattered all over the place, just like in the house of bondage. And I want to see whether or not they're going to do it. So what is Yah using for us in order to find out whether or not we're going to do what he says? What is he using?
He's using the idol gods that
Okay,
we
he's
serve.
using, but also too, Yah told them to go pick up manna, right? So Yah is using the Torah to find out whether or not someone's going to follow his instructions. I say that because when you look at the Torah portions, they're designed on a daily basis. They're designed for a daily basis. Okay. So, and then you're supposed to take up a double portion to have enough to get you through on the Shabbat. So when here on my little screen right here, I'll just pull it up right quick. We're right here in Aquave, right? So look at Aquave, and I'm gonna pull it up right quick just to kind of give you a little snapshot of what I'm saying, to put everything in perspective. As you notice right here at the top, they got 7 days up there. They got 7 days, okay, of teaching, right? And you and I are supposed to get it every single day. Just like the children of Israel picked up the manna in the wilderness for the time that they were out there to be trained and to be tested, to be examined, to see whether or not they would follow his instructions. Okay. So every single day, you and I are supposed to get up, and we're supposed to go day one. And it's, you need to get it before the sun melts it. Okay. Why is it talking about when the sun melting it? Because there's a certain time that this portion right here would be, would you say, beneficial to you? You would be able to get more out of it if you did it in the morning than you would at the late afternoon. You need to be able to take it in the morning so you can gnaw on it and ruminate on it, okay? Because you're like a sheep, okay, or an oxen, or you're part of a flock, okay? So right now, Yah's taking us to different places in these chapters. So I'll take you to chapter number 7 here. I'll keep you in 7 on day number 2. Day number 3, we'll go into 8. And here we'll do 8, and we might do another 8, and then we'll do 9 and 10, and then right here we'll do 11 and whatever it is. So what we see is Yah is taking us along his path, because this is the path of Yahweh. He's taking us through his path, and he wants to talk to us on a daily basis. I had a Jehovah's Witness come over yesterday to do I didn't know he was a Jehovah's Witness. He came over and said, he saw my my menorah, he saw all kind of stuff. He saw my hair, where I was dressed. He was like, who are you? And I was like, well, I'm a Hebrew, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. He said, really? I said, yeah. And we started talking. He's like, I said, well, have you ever heard of the Torah? He said, yeah, I heard of the Torah. I'm a Jehovah's Witness. I said, oh, okay, so you guys study a lot. He said, yeah. He said, well, I don't study every day. I just, I try to get to it when I can. I said, oh, that's interesting. We study every single day. And he couldn't believe it. You study every day? Yeah, I study every day, every single day. So a lot of people don't do this every single day, okay? So you study these days, okay? Rishon, Shani, Shalishi, Revi'i, Kamishi, Shishi, and Shavi'i, which is Shabbat. I study both the 6th and the 7th day on the 6th day. I take up a double portion, okay, during that time, because this is reflective. So Yah's letting us know that the man, okay, the manna, means what is it? That's what it means. That's the name of manna. Manna means what is it? Because it's ma, meaning what? What is it? So he said, your ancestors didn't know this, and neither did anybody else, and you didn't know what it was. But I'm telling you what it is. Yah's manna, okay, is his instructions. And he's using it, which is the Torah, to find out whether or not you and I would do what he says. And the only way he'll find out whether or not you do what he says is you and I are going to have to be committed to doing this on a regular basis, every day, on a daily basis. Okay? Because that's what he asked us to do. What else has he asked us to do? Okay? That's what he asked us to do. So you and I have to be committed to that. If you're not committed to the daily reading of the Torah, then you really don't, I'm going to be honest with you. Don't get mad at me. You're not wholehearted. You're not wholehearted. That means you're being distracted. You got something else, and something else got your attention. That means that this is not important to you. And this right here, as he told us, this is your life. Okay. I need you to do this so you can take care, so you can live. That's why I need you to obey it. That's why I need you to pay attention. Because if you don't guard this carefully to do these things, you won't live, and then you will never go to the land and increase your numbers. Okay. Never. So let's talk about what is in this land and what's important. Okay. So Yah tells us that during the 40 years, your clothing you were wearing didn't grow old and your feet didn't swell up. And then he tells us something, which is interesting. He tells us to think deeply about it. Think deeply about it. About what? The things that I'm just telling you. For 40 years, your clothes didn't wear out. That means they didn't get old. So there was no what you would call wearing out, because that word for old right there is called wearing out, or being let's see, someone's trying to get in right quick. That word is called bala, okay, meaning wearing out, to grow old. Hello, can you guys still see me?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so to grow old and to be done away with. So what he's letting us know is, in Yahweh's presence, it was the very words that he spoke that kept everything from growing old. Okay, and it kept us in perfect health when he was with us. He tells us to think deeply about it, and he's bringing this attention because he wants us to know that you have to really ponder these things. You and I shouldn't just read over and go, okay, well, their clothes didn't wear out and it didn't grow old. What is Yah saying? Yah is telling us right now, when you and I are with him, that he's eternal, right? And that's the reason why nothing grew old around him, okay? His words don't grow old. They shouldn't be something to be worn out where they're not worth your time any longer. You know, when your clothes are old, you throw them away because they don't matter to you anymore. Yah's letting you know several things. You matter to me. I kept you from getting sick. I kept you from your feet swelling up. I kept you from all these things. I kept you in perfect health. Okay. Yah was disciplining you, right? One of the things that we have a hard time with and difficulty is understanding that Yah looks at us as one of his children, his son or his daughter, and that he has to apply discipline to us. And that's something that a lot of us have difficulty with, because what we want Yah to do is to tell us something and then never follow up to see whether or not we did it. Okay. Often we do the things that Yah has asked us to do, but we're not doing it the right way. I'm just being honest. Sometimes we're doing some things, we're like, okay, I'm doing what Yah asked me. Well, it's the way that we do things. It's not doing these things, it's how we do it that matters to Yah. Okay. So moving, through this life, we have to understand that this relationship that we're in with our Creator, he's a father to us, and that he is going to put some disciplines. He's going to restrain us in some way. He might keep us in a certain spot for a certain way. He might chastise us. He might do a whole bunch of different things to us, and it's never going to stop. This is where it's always going to be. Okay. And actually right now, as his people, we're still being disciplined up to this point right now. We're still being disciplined by Yah, right? He's using other people to do it, right? But he's disciplining in us, and he's trying to bring us into what? A better understanding about who he is, because we don't really know. We have some ideas, but you and I really don't know. That's just the truth of the matter. And so he goes back again. And if you notice, he keeps saying the same thing. So obey the commandments of Yahweh and living as he directs and fearing him. If you and I do not obey what Yah says, he's letting us know that we don't fear him. If there's obedience in listening to what he says and doing what he says that you fear him. If you don't listen and you don't do what he says, okay, as he directs, the direction is pointing a finger, okay? Direct has to do with the word Torah, which has to do with fear, okay? Because fear is called Yah-Ra, or Yahweh, excuse me, Yahweh. And Yahweh means to point the finger, as we talked about in our last Shabbat teaching. Yah is pointing us in a direction, and the direction he's pointing us to is the commandments. The commandments are the ones who are supposed to help us understand what is Yah's desire for us, okay? And as a child who doesn't like discipline, we don't listen to him and we don't follow the way that he tells us to live. Therefore, we don't fear him. And there's a penalty, there's a cost for that, all right? There are 7, and this be easy for you to remember. There are 7, in verse number 7, there are 7 divine fruits that are going to be found inside, or 7 divine articles of food that are going to be found in this chapter. 7, they're divine, okay? The reason why they're divine is because the land belongs to Yahweh, okay? Yah says that he's going to bring you into a land, a good land. A land is called the Tovah, okay? A Tovah land, a land with streams, springs, and water welling up from the depths of the valleys and on the hillsides, okay? Key thing is, without this water, without these streams, these springs, and this water, and also rain, because that's where this stuff comes from, then you will never have any of these blessings that Yah has given to us, okay? He mentions these 7 things. The first one is called the wheat. Second is the barley. The 3 is the grapevines. The 4th is the fig trees. 5 is the pomegranates, and 6 is the olive oil, and 7 is the honey, okay? So that's the Veshemen and the Udavash and the Ramon. More specifically, when we talk about each one of these foods, they have some special features. When I think about the pomegranates, when I say pomegranates, what do you think about? What's a pomegranate like?
Seeds.
Seedy.
Right. And so what there is a great deal of seeds, okay? And there's an abundance amount of seeds inside of this fruit. So this is a fruit of abundance. Okay. Okay. Olive oil, when we talk about that, is something that brings shine to you. Okay. It brings, it says use it for your skin, use it for all this stuff. Honey is a matter of sweetness. Look at all the things. Grapevines give you some joy when you have your wine. Your figs are sweet, right? They're sweet as well. They're tasty. Barley and wheat, you can get filled up on that. You can feed your animals with that. It feeds man and beast, you see? So all these things that Yah has given, they're divine because Yah says, I'm going to put my blessing on these things. And a lot of people don't want these things. If you tell somebody that, hey, we're supposed to go to the land because in the land you're going to receive barley, wheat, grapevines, fig trees, and pomegranates and olive oil, guess what they say? I can go to the store and go get that. What's so special about this versus, what's at our store, what's at Costco or whatever? They don't want the land. This is what everything is about. It's what Yah swore to our ancestors. It's about a land. It's about a land of these things. It's about a land that Yah wants to give to us. Everything he swore to our ancestors. He says, there you eat food in abundance and you will lack nothing in it. Okay. The land where their stones contain iron. Okay. Which in the Hebrew, it doesn't say the stones contain iron. It says the stones are iron and the hills can be mined for copper. So you will eat and you will be satisfied. Okay. And which means you will be complete. Okay. And then you will bless Yahweh. When blessing Yahweh here means that you would bring Yahweh the items that he asked you for. So out of your wheat and out of your barley and your grapes and your figs and your pomegranates, you're supposed to bring Yahweh a tenth of that. Okay. And you're supposed to give it to the Lavaim. He's supposed to take a tenth of that and give it to Kohanim. And you're supposed to offer those to Yahweh as your first fruits, you see, from your trees and from your land and whatnot. So when it talks about blessing Yahweh, you and I have to have something to bless him with. And at this point, the only thing that we really can't offer Yah is thanksgiving. But that's not all Yah's looking for. Yah's looking for the blessings of the land, because the blessings of the land reminds Yahweh about a few things. It reminds him about the promise that he swore to our ancestors. It reminds, and he says that you're going to be satisfied for Yahweh your Elohim for the good land he has given you. You're going to bless him for that because he just gave it to you. But it's something about this land that he wants us to understand. He wants you to understand that the land is salvation. Okay. I know that you probably never heard this before, but it's the truth. The land is your salvation. Okay. That's part of your salvation. So here it is. You can find this and you can verify this in Psalms 85. Okay. It's other places as well, but let's just stick with 85 for the sake of time. In Psalms 85, it says this. And you can write this down. This is for the leader, a psalm, which is a song, S-O-N-G, of the sons of Korach, which were from the line of Levi. Okay. He said, Yahweh, you have shown favor to your land, and you have restored the fortunes of Yaakov. So he's literally prophesying about what Yah plans on doing for the whole entire family of Yaakov. He says, you've taken away the guilt of your people, and you pardoned all their sin. Okay. So in this, you can find out when someone comes and tells you about salvation, you can easily look at this and say, well, has Yah shown favor to the land? Has he restored the fortunes? Okay. So our fortunes are in the land. Okay. I didn't read it over there, but the gold is in the land. The silver is in the land. The copper is in the land. The iron is in the land. What else is in there? The food is in the land. You understand? The water is in the land. And the food and the water has to do with your health. Okay. These other areas right here, this iron and stuff, you can make vessels out of those things. The food also has to do with the health and the survival of your herds and your flocks. Okay. It's all there. Okay. So that's what's included. So our fortunes are not found in anywhere but the land. So when you don't understand this, you would believe that your fortunes are going to be in your captivity. And you also believe that you're going to, you're doing really well. So you don't need to go back to the land because you already have your fortune. Yah's fortunes for us has to do with our land. That's my point. But Yah will not take us back to the land until he clears and takes away all of the guilt of the people. Because he won't let anybody go into the land that's not righteous. And he won't let anybody going back into the land that hasn't been forgiven and pardoned of their sin. Okay. He said, you've withdrawn all your wrath and you turned from your fierce anger. When you show favor to your land, he has to restore us. Restore what? Restore us to our fortunes, right? Elohim of our salvation. Okay. Renounce your displeasure with us. Are you to stay angry with us forever? Right? So he's asking. So in one sense, he's telling us what it's going to be. And then the other sense, he says, how long are you going to be angry? We need, in order for us to be restored, okay, this Kohanim right here, or this, Leviim, is letting us know that Yah is angry with us when we're not in our land. You understand? And he's not going to be angry forever. As long as his anger is still going, he won't move. Okay. And he asked the question, will your fury last through all generations? It's been a very long time. It's been thousands of years. Okay. And he says, won't you revive us again so your people can rejoice in you? That's the only reason why Yah will revive us, is so that you and I can praise him and rejoice. And where's that rejoice coming from? It's coming from those vineyards. It's coming from those grapes, those grapevines, where you make your wine and you make your juice and you're happy and you're having a big party for Sukkot. Okay. Then he says, show us your grace. Because the request is restore us, but show us your grace. Why is he asking for grace and compassion? Yahweh, grant us your salvation. See, so the salvation is directly connected to the land and the fortunes of Yaakov. That's the salvation. Okay. And that's why he's asking to restore us, Elohim of our salvation. Your salvation is when you're brought back to your land. Okay. Then he says, I'm listening. What will Elohim Yahweh say? What is he going to say? For he will speak peace to his people, his holy ones. You and I are the set apart ones, but only if they don't relapse into folly. Here it is. His salvation is near for those who fear him. The fear is through Yah's mitzvot. My pen went out, forgive me. Mitzvot. His kukim, which are his decrees. Okay. Statutes, mitzvot, and mishpatim, which are his rulings. And of course, you have to follow the moedim. That's part of it. That's part of the kukim. Okay. So, but you only get that if you fear him. And the only way that you fear him is if you do these things. And remember, fear doesn't mean that you're just shaking. Fear means that you're learning. Because fear, again, is Yah, Re. And that means to point in a what? To point in a direction. Okay, like rain. Okay. So he's asking us to fear him, to learn from him, right? He's also asking that so that what? So that glory will be in our land. See, that's salvation. It's near. Salvation is going back to land. Grace and truth have met together. Where in the land? Justice and peace have kissed each other. Where in the land? Truth springs up from the earth, and justice looks down from the Shamayim. Yahweh will also grant prosperity. Where? Our land will yield its harvest. You understand? Justice will walk before him and make his footsteps a path. We haven't been taught that. So we have not been directed towards the promise, because if you and I don't follow the promise and we don't follow what he said, then you and I are not going into the land. You and I will not make it to the land. Okay. I want to finish up. So he tells us in verse number 11, which we're going to talk a little bit more about on Shabbat, that he wants us to be careful, which means be guarding. I don't need you to be careful. I need you to always be guarding, not to forget. Okay. This word not here is not low, like in our, never this. It's not low. It's called pain. Okay. And pain means that you or I decide to stop watching. We just stop. We fail to continue to be watchful. Okay, that's what he's saying to us. I need you to be careful. You give up on, you get slack in your guarding. You put literally saying you're putting your guard down. You're forgetting to be on guard. So why is Yah telling us don't shakak? Why is he telling us that? Don't shakak. Don't forget. Don't let something slip out of your mind by not obeying his commandments, his kukim, and his mishpatim that I'm giving you today. Why would he tell us that we need to be careful not to forget?
Because he told us if we did it, if we remember to do what he said, we would live.
Yes. So if you forget, you don't get what? You don't live. So do you see now why he's bringing it to our attention? So you and I are eating right now. We're in the book of Davarim, and we're going to be here for a while. We're in chapter number 7, 8, 9, and 10, and 11. So we're going to be here for a while. And Yah has us in this place right now where he's telling them, get prepared to go into the land. So he's letting us know in a future forecast that, listen, I told them not to forget. And they did. Did I not prepare them for the land? I did. But when they got there, they forgot. Well, we're never going to do that again. Okay. I'm not going to let anybody who forgot go into the land. So Yah's telling us, I need you to be careful to stay on guard. Okay. Because I'm doing things a little differently now. I'm not going to let a rebel go into the land. I let the individuals that he's talking here right now, they're the ones who went into the land. And guess what? They did forget. So they dropped their guard. They stopped guarding what Yahweh said. See? Verse number 12, otherwise, after you have eaten and are satisfied and built fine houses and lived in them and increased your herds, your flocks, your silver, your gold, and everything else you own, you will become proud-hearted. That's what the problem is. Forgetting Yahweh, your Elohim, who brought you out of where? Out of the land of Mizraim. If you don't get anything else out of these studies, understand that he's the one who brought us out of the land of Mizraim where you lived as slaves. He continues to mention it over and over again because this is the whole crux of everything, okay? If you forget about Mizraim, okay, so he's telling you, don't forget. Don't forget what happened in the wilderness. Don't forget what happened when he brought you out of Mizraim as you lived as slaves. Don't forget what happened in all these different places that I brought you to. Don't forget who led you through the vast and fearsome desert with poisonous snakes and scorpions and waterless and thirsty ground, who brought you water out of a flint rock for you. Don't you forget that. I don't need you to forget who fed you in the desert with manna, unknown to your ancestors. Is this not the second time that he's mentioned this? All the while humbling and testing you in order to do you good in the end. Okay? You would think to yourself, my own power and strength in my own hand have gotten me this wealth. That's being lifted up in pride. That's what he's talking about. If you notice something, didn't he not say that I'm going to bring you into a land, and when you get there, you're going to go into houses that you didn't build, right? You're going to eat of gardens and grapevines that you didn't plant. You're going to drink out water out of cisterns that you didn't dig. So what Yah understands is he sees everything from the beginning to the end. And he's letting them know, okay, that you guys are going to turn out to be a certain type of people. And I know this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the warning before it happens, okay? They trusted in everything that they received, okay? In everything that they own, they put all their confidence in that. And therefore, when we put our confidence in other things besides that which Yah has placed before us, which is the Torah, including the Kukim, the Mishpatim, and the Mitzvot, then you and I are going to make this same drastic mistake. We're going to talk about that more on Shabbat when we have more time, okay? So Yah is bringing that to their attention, and he's bringing it to ours, okay? Wealth is not achieved outside of Yah's hand, okay? Now, I want you to listen very carefully to this part. He says you're going to start what? This is key. You're going to think. Remember, we started our lesson off talking about thinking about the mind. They're going to think something. Number one, they're going to think that they're by their own power and their own strength of their own hand, they've gotten me this wealth. That's what they're going to think, okay? They're going to start thinking with their minds, okay? He says, no, you are to remember. Remember means I need you to use your mind, okay? I need you to remember this. Yahweh, your Elohim, because that's that word right there of akev. Our Torah portion word, akev. Because it is he who is giving you the power to get wealth in order to confirm his covenant, which he swore to your ancestors as it is happening today. Something that you and I have never been told is that the wealth that he's talking about here is wealth that is appertaineth to the land. The reason why he's given us the wealth is because he's confirming the covenant to our ancestors that he swore to them that he would be our Elohim, but also too that we would receive the wealth of the land. Land ownership is wealth, okay? And everything that goes along with that land, sustainability of that land, okay? Yah has brought them into a land where there's an abundance amount of wealth. You and I have no clue about what he's talking about. because our wealth has been dictated to us by what kind of job you have and how much money you get paid. The only green that you and I have, and let me change my color in closing. The only green that you and I ever had in our hand now is the greenback of the greenback dollar. Have you ever asked yourself a question? Why is it green? Why is it green? Why did you think they put it green? Why is it not any other color?
The land.
They want you to think that you are in ownership of something. They want you to think that. You can be right now a mortgage on your house, and you could be paying the bank for a piece of, like I would call it, a box with some electricity, some sheetrock and some paint and a couple of fans and some carpet, hardwood floors and a couple of appliances that you got to, replace every few years because they don't make them the way they used to, right? It's a whole nother hustle. You and I don't own land. We don't own any land. Some people do own land. I won't say all of us don't own it. Some of us do own land. You own land, you have wealth. You don't have any land, you don't have any real wealth. Okay? You don't have no wealth whatsoever. You think you do, but you don't. Okay? So our wealth is not found in anything but the covenant of Yah. Your wealth will only be found in the covenant because that's where our wealth is. And if you and I listen, if we don't do what he says, then you and I are going to forfeit this wealth. You and I will not inherit our inheritance. Our inheritance is the land. Okay. So what Yah says too is if you shakak, Yahweh your Elohim, and follow other gods, because that's indicative. If you're not following him, you're following other gods. If you're not listening to what Yahweh says, then you have forgotten what he says, and you will serve and worship them, meaning they would dictate how you work and how you live and how you eat and how you manage your money and all different types of things. He said, I'm warning you in advance today that you will certainly perish. You will perish just like the nations that Yahweh is causing to perish ahead of you, because you will not have listened and heeded the voice of Yahweh your Elohim. So it's imperative. It's imperative that we understand these things. It's imperative that we understand what our wealth is. Okay. And so instead of him bringing us to the land and you and I can do whatever we want to do, and we'll try to figure it out there, he said, I'm not doing it like that. I've already done it like that before. Well, why bring them to the wilderness? To test you, to examine you, so I can tell your descendants about what I told you and give them a fair shake at their inheritance. I'm going to give them a fair opportunity. And if they don't follow what I said, they're going to die. Just like the ones who are brought out to the wilderness, they're going to die. I told you I'm going to bring you back out into the wilderness and I'm going to judge you face to face. And there won't be no rebel to go into the land. You understand? And he tells us in our Torah portion that you and I are a stiff-necked people. We're a stiff-necked people. A people who just can't, who won't have their head turned to the left or to the right, meaning that we're not flexible. We're too rigid. We're too stern. We're too set in our ways. We're just too set. Yah says, why I got to put a bit in your mouth like a donkey or a mule or a horse? Why I got to drag you and turn your head to go one way? Why can't I just talk to you and ask you to change and go this direction? I'm watching you. If you follow what I'm saying, I'm not going to lead you in the wrong direction. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm not trying to bring misery upon you. I'm trying to give you things that I promised to give to your ancestors. I want to fulfill my end of the deal. And I can't do that when people are not listening to me. And when you don't trust me and you put your confidence in things that don't exist, and you put your confidence in your money, and you put your confidence in your own wealth, you put your confidence in your own hope, you don't have any need for me. That's the bottom line. If you don't see a need for me, you're not going to give me the glory and honor that's due to me. So now you think that you and I are in a deal like I'm a boyfriend or I'm a husband that you can run a game on, like we're equal partners. Like, you're calling shots and then I have to deal with your nonsense because you just don't want to follow what I said. It's not going to work like that. I'm just telling all of us this. It's not, Yah is not dealing with it. He had a wife that was a whore. Okay. And a lot of people don't like that. You don't like when I say we're a whore. You don't like it. Yah says you're a whore. We don't like it. Yah says you're a rebel. We don't like it. You're stiff-necked. You're a rebel. That's what he says. Marim. That's all he says in chapter numbers 9 and 10. You're a rebel. You made Yah angry all the time. He's going to destroy you and exterminate you and wipe you off the face of the map all the time. We don't like that. And the reason why Yah was going to do that is because you and I didn't have any respect, and we wouldn't give him the glory that was due to him. And he is worthy of everything because he takes care of everyone and everything. And he wants us to see him in that light. And it's not until we accept that and until we decide that we're going to give him the glory, and we're not going to take credit for the stuff that he's done. I'm not talking about these things here. I'm not talking about your successes here. You know, I've owned businesses. I've had millions of dollars. That doesn't mean anything. It means absolutely zippo. You know, when you look at what David and them are saying, and you look at Abraham and them, they were wealthy people. They had tons and tons and tons of gold and stuff. Didn't make a difference. It was what their heart was. You know, we're going to find out about some individuals who had great wealth, and they fell off. We're going to have some individuals that Yah made promises to, and regardless of what he told them, they're still going to do what they want to do. You know, you say, well, I don't come to study so you can browbeat me. I'm not browbeating us. I'm just telling us the truth. The type of behavior that you and I have had as a people, as a nation, has been despicable. It's very shameful how we have behaved with our Creator. And I speak from my own experience. Okay. In my life, I've wasted so much time on so many foolish things. I tried to do so many different things. I've tried to, you know, feel like I'm important or make a name for myself. Right. I've always tried to do that ever since I was a kid. And it's never panned out for me. And what I mean by that is I never had the satisfaction of knowing that I did something that was worthy of him. You know, like I want to live a life that I can give something back to the one who created me. I don't want to live here and not enjoy anything that he's made. I'm disappointed and I'm just depressed about the fact that I've been living for 52 years. And I've never been to a place where I could have drank waters that was mine out of inheritance for me, that was for my family. Don't have it. I never had an opportunity to bring a basket of fruit, one basket. I'm not talking about a whole bunch. I'm talking about one basket of fruit to the Creator to say, thank you. Look at what my hands have done. Did you bless? And here it is. I never had an opportunity to bring my children before the Most High and dedicate them and walk in the ways that he said. Never. So while I've been here this whole time, you know, and he says, this is what you need to think about. You guys are not thinking, because if you really understood what you lost, then you would try to do something to correct that action and that behavior. Our people are not smart. He says you guys are stupid. If you would take the time to admit and think about it, then you would know, like, there's some changes need to be made. You know, we don't have food security. There ain't no food security. They could cut the water off right now and all of us would, you know, dehydrate. We're looking for the government. We're not looking for our Elohim. But our experience, and we've been living here, this is what we've been doing. You know, we've been partying and dancing and dressing and all this kind of stuff, driving cars and doing this and that. We haven't lived the way that he's asked us to live. We ain't had the opportunity to use our hands and literally be able to see exactly why they were made. I haven't lifted my hands because of the abundance of what Yah has done for me. I blessed his name, you know, because, oh, I got some money or, you know, or this and this and that. Those things don't mean anything. They don't, because it wasn't done in a way that pleases him. We think it's okay for him to accept stuff from our hands in any manner that we think it should be accepted. That's how far off we are as human beings. We think it's okay, you know, we really do. You know, it's just as long as we're good people. No, he's not talking about that. He's talking about a level and a standard of justice that hasn't been met on the earth. If you and I have done our job as he instructed us and our ancestors, the world wouldn't be in the condition that it's in today. That's just the truth. But we're not hearing that. We're hearing about poor me, and we did this and this and that. No, 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 no. What did we do? And when are we going to change? We're going to change that mindset. We can get people to barely even read the Torah. They didn't even want to read the Psalms. Nobody wants to even sing a song for him. He's not hearing songs of praises from his people. He's not. As talented as our people are, why aren't we doing more for him? You know, why? Well, because we're in exile. Okay, that's great. But overall, it's like pulling teeth. You got to beg people to do stuff. Yah says, you guys are something's wrong. Where should I strike you next? Where's the next hit that you got to take? Why can't you just get it? Why I got to be this way with you? Why can't it just be do what I said? Why I got to keep reminding you over and over and over again not to do this and not to do that? As if I'm telling you something that's wrong, like I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm the creator of the heavens and the earth. And yet we find excuses on why we can't do what he says. And then when we want to make sure that we're trying to be like what he asks us to be and pretend, we create a priesthood that he says that you can't have no business touching because you're not from that family. You haven't been verified and registered. You don't even know. That's how backwards we are. We won't even accept our punishment, just like our ancestors. He told me, you're going to spend 40 years out here. Guess what they said? No, we're going to go up and fight. We sin. Let's go and do it anyway. He said, you still go rebel? We got some issues and they need to be dealt with. Okay. And listen, are they all going to be resolved here? No, because Yah said, I'm going to give you a new heart. I'm going to give you a new spirit. What am I really saying? I'm saying that let's direct our attention to our creator in a very special way, meaning like, let's give him what he's asking for. Let's give him the time that he's asking for. Let's give him the mind that he's asking for. If he asks for wholeheartedness, and you say, well, that's difficult because I got so much going on. No, it's not. It's not difficult. It's a made up mind. We do everything else we want to do. But when it comes to him, there's all kinds of excuses. And he's saying, you're not wholehearted with me. And I don't want anybody to be deceived. I'm going to let you go. I don't want anybody to be deceived. I don't want to be a teacher to you and fill up your brain with, oh, well, we're all just doing the best we know how. No. And he's going to take us and accept us. That's a false teaching. That's a false teaching. Yah knows the human heart. He knows who we are. He knows who's wholehearted. My job is to encourage all of us, including myself, to say, listen, we need to look at every area of our life and make sure that we're doing everything that he asks us to do in the manner, not just to do it. Remember I said, it's not about us doing it. It's how we do it. I think that's the focus. Take the trash out. Okay, well, I took the trash out, but how did you take it out? Did you put the bag? Did you clean out the garbage can when you took the bag out? And did you do it the way I taught you? Or did you just took it out and you thought because you took it out that I'm pleased? See those kind of things? You see? You made dinner, but did you make it the way that I asked you to? No, I just made it. So dinner's made, so I'm supposed to be satisfied. Right? Did you do your homework? Yeah, I did my homework. Did you do it the way that I asked you to do it? Did you write it out the way I told you? Did you do the way that I taught you? Are you willing to learn? You see what I'm saying? I'm using those examples because those are everyday life experiences. You guys have people working for you. You've worked at jobs. And you guys, you're a manager or owner or business. You tell people something. Guess what? Why should you have to go back and repeat what you already told them? The reason why they're not doing it that way is because they don't want to do it that way. They're going to do it their way, and that's called rebellion. I say Lila Tov, I say shalom to you. Don't be mad at me. Just understand that we got to start telling each other the truth. We got to start telling each other the truth. We got to change. Amen. No one amen and said amen. Okay.
Amen.
Lila Tov to you all. I'll see you guys on Shabbat. Until
Lila Tov.
Lila Tov.
Lila Tov.
Lila Tov.
Lila Tov.